The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Welcome to Eccentric Mold and Engineering's webinar. If you're here for a rapid versus traditional manufacturing, then you've come to the right place. I'm Connie and I'll be your host for this session. A few things to cover before I turn over the webinar to our keynote speaker. This presentation is expected to last approximately 30 minutes. Q&A is included, so during the presentation, if you feel like you'd like to submit a question, feel free to use the chat function located at the lower right-hand corner of the control panel. If we run out of time before all the questions are answered, we'll follow up by sending you an email containing those answers, as well as a link to the recorded version of this webinar for future reference. With that, I'll now turn over the webinar to our keynote speaker, John Sidorowitz. John, please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you, Connie. My name is John Sidorowitz. I'm VP of Inside Sales and Customer Service here at Eccentric. Been in injection molding for about the last 15 years in all aspects. So thank you, everyone, for joining this afternoon. And with that, let's get started. So for the agenda for today, we're going to kind of get into rapid manufacturing versus traditional. Kind of the basic or overview of the injection molded component process and how that's developed. Benchmarking criteria. And then kind of go dive into the traditional manufacturing process and the rapid manufacturing process a little bit more in detail. So kind of highlighting rapid versus traditional manufacturing, you're going to have faster process steps. There's a lot more digitization, online uploading files, quicker responses. There's more efficiencies. It's more economical from a pricing perspective. And this can lead ultimately to new market discoveries, optimized learning curves on parts, and then untapped revenue streams for new product development. So up here we have kind of the path for developing a injection mold component. So during your design phase, that's where you're going to kind of come up with your part geometry, establish your tolerances, identify your part materials based upon the characteristics of the part, how it's going to be used, where it's going to be used, etc. And then any surface textures, polishes, or whatever's needed and how that part's going to be used. Next, the prototype phase, other than 3D printing, moving into a prototype mold, you're going to have your tool design, your tool build, and your parts being molded and then inspected. And then once the parts ship, you're going to take your prototype parts, do your own inspections and testing of those parts, and then lastly, make any iterations or engineering changes to that part, or move into production of that part with production tooling, or use that prototype tool for production. So benchmarking criteria for choosing or moving forward with your prototype injection molded part. You want to look at your supplier types. So out there you're going to have your traditional injection molders, you're going to have marketplaces, and then rapid injection molders like us. The other benchmark is going to be time, from design completion to order placement, and then from order placement to first shots, and then from first shots to the next design iteration, or getting to that final product. And then lastly, and probably biggest, is cost. So next we'll kind of dive into the traditional molding process. So with this process, you're going to have many steps that you're going to go through, and a lot of those are to monitor and ensure the safeguards that are in place throughout the process to catch anything. This just extends out the lead time of the tool and getting parts in hand. There's going to be various steps for testing form, fit, function, and discover part flaws. It's more of a manual process than automated. And if modification is required sometime either after the process or during the process kind of resets itself. And then typically your traditional molds are going to be made from steel, either be P20 or S7, some hard material, which takes longer to cut. Material costs are higher, and they're really dedicated more for high volume part production. So here's just a little bit of a visual of the traditional manufacturing process. On average, you're looking 6 to 12 weeks from getting a quote to getting parts in hand. And we'll kind of go through each step here. Some will be faster than others. So submitting a part for quote, typically this whoever the traditional manufacturer is going to get the part, print, review with a team of individuals, go through the part, and then provide a manual quote. And at the same time, kind of doing a DFM analysis, providing any feedback, any issues, or anything like that. So once that's all gone through and everything's in agreement with the part and design, that's when the manual order takes place, usually submitting a PO to that supplier, and them inputting the order, and then moving on to mold design. At this stage, it can be a lengthy process because there could be a lot of back and forth. Design, again, is reviewed for viability, and at this point, you're subject to requoting, redesign, or redefining that project. So anything along those lines could cause delays. So once your mold design is approved, typically it's going to go into mold manufacturing. At this time, this could be another lengthy part of the process. So once tool is completed, your parts will be molded, and typically it'll go through a cycle until it's met the specifications of the part print, and then through final inspection, and then into shipping. So again, first shots, visual and dimensional inspections are done here, but like I said, it could be multiple iterations during the parts being molded. So in the event of a non-approval, the process can be modified and revised again until everything's met and achieved for print. Obviously shipping to the customer and review. Now in the digital manufacturing process, it's going to be a little bit different. So the key process components are going to be cost, quality, automation, and speed to market. So the overall process is digitized. Online, submitting data to reduce costs and increase efficiencies. Sorry, lost my track here. Numerous iterations can be handled quickly and more efficiently with quality control. So, if we need to move a hole or thicken a rib or something like that, it can be done faster than a traditional route. Streamlined processes accommodate quicker turnaround times with lower cost. Complex designs are accommodated, so it doesn't have to be a very simple part to use this process. It could be a difficult part, many hand loads, inserts, overmolding inserts, overmolding. So there's really no limit to this process. And in this process, lead times can be weeks instead of months, and can lead to new market discoveries. And again, optimizing the learning curves of the design and the components, and leading to untapped revenue streams. Now I'll kind of go through So in this process for rapid manufacturing, traditionally your tools are going to be made of aluminum. Here at Excentric, we use a high-grade QC10 aluminum. So it's easier to cut, faster. It's a cheaper alternate to steel. It dissipates heat quickly. It's recyclable, and works well for prototyping and bridge tooling and low volume production. Really, the only con with it can break down over time. If you're depending on what type of materials you're using, if you're using a high abrasive material like a glass-filled nylon, it will limit its tool life. But with Eccentric, we offer a lifetime mold guarantee. So if there is tool wear, we guarantee guarantee the tool for the life of the project, which essentially means no limit on parts. So if the tool does wear, we will either address it, fix it in the tool, or cut a new tool. So here's a little bit of visual of the digital process. And again, we'll kind of go through this. So typically you're going to upload your 3D model via the website. And with Eccentric, you're going to get an interactive quote within 24 hours, along with a DFM analysis, outlining any potential issues or anything like that. And one of our sales engineers will talk you through if there are anything that can help save costs or if anything that needs to be changed. So those kind of all happen at the same time within 24 hours. You can place your order right online, upload your PO. There's no manual process. So once the order is placed, it goes into design. And we have our proprietary advanced mold making system, which goes from design to CNC and right into the mold manufacturing and mold assembly. From there, we mold your parts within a few days of the mold being done. We do any inspections that are required by or requested by the customer. We have a basic level of inspection, but we do offer different levels depending on the requirements. A lot of customers want to do their own inspections on their parts. Ship the parts, and then under customer validation, that's when most of our customers do our form, fit, function testing on their parts, advise us, of any issues or anything they want to change, and that's when we, do an engineering change or a groom to that tool. So as I mentioned earlier, we have a couple different options for inspection. After molding parts in-house, we can do full layouts, some quick checks on parts. We just really need to know up front what the requirements are as far as inspections go. And we also do have project management consulting where identifying if issues are identified after, we can help consult and figure out how to get the part where it needs to be after first shots. So kind of in summary here, the traditional manufacturing process has many steps and is subject to additional validation steps, time to market, and cost. So it's just a longer process, longer to go through. So if you're needing parts in hand fast, it's probably not the route to go. The digital manufacturing process or rapid manufacturing process is going to be more efficient. It's going to potentially save on inspection time, costs, iterations, and time to market.
Okay, do we have any questions for John? Take a moment here. Okay, based on the, we're not seeing many questions, so we will go ahead and have this pre-recorded and send it out. We'll post it out to our site. And overall, as we take a look at things, we will get things out to you as questions come along to us. So thank you for your time today for joining us with the webinar. If you have any questions or interest in Eccentric products, please visit our website, our social channels, or contact us directly at the number below. Oh, sorry, we do have a question here. Apologize.
All right. Looks like, how do you support material selection? Good question. We can help with basic materials. If it gets a little bit more involved, we can get our material suppliers involved as well and get our customers connected with them so they can identify, specialty materials it really depends on the application. So we can either help or bring in reinforcements with the material houses. Looks like another one here. Do you sell your molds as well? All the molds we make are customer owned. They may not run in other machines, but they could be modified. But we do sell molds like mud tools and freestanding molds to customers to use at their own facilities.
And we have a few more questions that have come over.
Can you quote from an STL file? Good question. STL files are really mainly for 3D printing. They're kind of dumb data. In order to quote injection molding, we'll need something like a cross-platform file like IGES, STEP, or Parasolid. Let's see, we got a couple more popping up here. Can you share the presentation with those who's attended the webinar, please? Yes, we'll be sharing the presentation. It'll be up within 48 hours.
Yep, we will post. We will set the presentation out to our website and to the webinar area. We have a full webinar area, so it will be posted out there within 24 to 48 hours.
Let's see here. Generally speaking, how much higher cost than traditional? I think it maybe higher cost than rapid for traditional might be the question. Oh yeah, correction there. It's hard to say. It really going to depend on. You're not really quoting apples to apples, and it can vary depending on the part. If there's actions, typically if you're dealing with a quick turn part that has actions, and you only need 500 parts, you're going to go with more of a manual tool. Versus traditional typically doesn't do manual tools; they'll fully automate the tool. So it's really hard to say. It's going to be design specific. Let's see here. I think that's it.
These three just came up.
Do you have sensors installed in the molds? No, we do not. I mean, we have our machines are. We have a lot of proprietary stuff on our machines, and really can't get into that. I will want to know the file type in order to quote for. So again, we would need STEP files, IGES files, Parasolid, SAT, kind of a cross-platform file in order to print. Do you give tours of your facilities? Do both locations do the same process? Yes, we do tours of our facility. It's a quick, short tour. And both our locations are almost duplicate footprints of each other.
Okay, I think that's all. Oh, sorry, we have one more question here coming up.
Are your molds full aluminum, or do you use other materials for wear surfaces? Yes, I mean, in some tools where we have thin mold conditions, we will use steel or insert out with steel in the tool. And again, it's really going to depend on the end use of the part. If we know it's going to run 5,000 pieces versus 500 pieces, it may be built a little bit differently. And we may incorporate some steel into that mold. So I think that's it.
Okay. I think that's all the questions we'll be able to take today. We're at time. If you have any other additional questions, again, please send your information over to the sales@eccentricmold.com. We'll be happy to answer those for you. A recorded version of the webinar along with the answers to questions will be sent and will be posted out to our website. And we thank everybody for joining us today and all the good questions, and we appreciate your time. We hope you have a great day.